How's it going, guys? Today I wanted to talk about a game that is pretty cool if you're an RTS fan. It's definitely paying homage to older style RTS or the classic RTS when RTS was popular and played a lot. It's called Crossfire Legion. It is a three race, three faction RTS, similar to like StarCraft. You know the drill. It kind of looks like, it has a 3D engine and everything, which is neat. It definitely wants to be like StarCraft or draw inspiration. It definitely wants to copy the, glory days, bring back the glory days with Command and Conquer, StarCraft, you had Age of Empires. I mean, there was a time 10 to 15 years ago, which is hard to say that RTS was all the rage. We were getting RTS games multiple times a year, sometimes every month. And then MOBAs came around and RTS genre kind of died. So what makes this game unique and what makes it feel fresh and not just like, oh, it's another copy of StarCraft or Command and Conquer, is it does have the three faction system, which it's not the typical three faction system. Now you got New Horizon, they're kind of consumed by they're a syndicate that it's all about AI technology, and they're kind of like your Protoss to a degree because they have shields and health, and they have really strong units. Their units are expensive and they're durable. And a lot of them are like siege units. Like a lot of their units, they're ranged. They're very slow, sluggish. They have a lot of hit points, but they're like artillery. And makes them feel not just like, a Protoss copy. And also, when you build in this game, you build very much like the Protoss do in StarCraft. You just click your builder, tell them where to build, the thing falls down and it builds itself. You don't got to tie up a builder to do that, which is pretty neat. I am playing in this video the New Horizon faction, so this is kind of what their units look like, what their buildings look like. You have a material and like a oil thing, the blue and the orange. Those are pre-placed. You just put 10 out of 10 on the material and then 5 out of 5 on the oil, and that's how you get your resources you need to upgrade. Then you also have the Global Risk faction, which is kind of like your G.I. Joe faction. They're your standard military. They're very focused on ranged combat. They're not really great at close range, so that's kind of the offset for them. And like I said, they're kind of a standard military faction. And then you have the Blacklist, which are really quick, really fast. They kind of have a Zergy mentality, but they're more like guerrilla warfare and more about speed. So really, it's not like they tried to copy Terran, Protoss, and Zerg from StarCraft or any of the factions from like Command and Conquer. They tried to do their own spin on things, which is really cool. I really like that. Probably the most unique thing about the game is the army builder. So when the game first came out, each like faction, let's say, has like 20 units, right? You start with 8 or 9 unlocked, then you had to unlock the other ones. Well, people didn't like that, and the devs actually changed it. So now you start with all your units unlocked. And the way it goes is when you start a match, you pick what units you want to go into the loadout. So you get to pick 2 different infantry units, 2 different vehicles, 2 different aircraft. You get to set all that stuff. I think it's like 8 or 9 units you get to choose from. And every battle can be different based on what you're doing. You're like, oh, I'm going against, this faction. I should bring these units, or I like these units better. They synergize well with these. So you don't have access to all the units at all times. You can specialize and build and focus on a certain play style or a certain, whatever goal you have in mind, which I find really unique, that there's a loadout system prior to every match that kind of makes each match feel unique, and it definitely plays into like the rock, paper, scissors or the counter mechanics of what units counter what. Because if you don't bring the right units, and they do, you can get pretty destroyed pretty quickly, and it can be over. So I really like that system. I think that is a very, very good system. It's very different. This does have a co-op missions. This does have a campaign, which is very welcome. More variety and things to do. And the map design, I want to talk about that, because the map design isn't just like random and thrown together. Like all the maps kind of feel and play different. Like depending on what faction you are, you're going to approach differently. It's not just like it's the same map with a different color scheme, And each faction does have like abilities you can call down. As you can see here, I'm calling down a radiation zone on top of the enemy infantry there. And if they stand in it, they just die and take damage. And it's that orange bar on the left side of the screen. next to the Alt E and the Alt W. Those are like faction specific abilities, and you gain that energy by taking damage with units, killing units, losing units. That bar builds up. So that's kind of like your tactical moves. They're just like kind of call down moves, kind of like if in Command and Conquer you had your orbital cannon, you know, StarCraft you had call down a mule. You could do all those different things with the different factions. So that's really neat. And each faction has their own that you can use, which is really cool. The units do upgrade. You know, you got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You got to upgrade your buildings to access the higher tier units. The only complaint I would have is there doesn't seem to be a lot of construction buildings. There only seems to be like, you know, you got your tank factory, your infantry factory, your air factory, your farms. You got offensive turrets and anti-air turrets. And then you have like an upgrade station or two, and that's really it for like the buildings you place, which I'm a little underwhelmed about that. I'm used to other games like Age of Empires, you know, insert any RTS here, where you got a multitude of buildings to construct, not just kind of your core and then that's it. Which this game is early access, so that obviously could change, but that's one of the letdowns I have. And the only other thing that I'm concerned about with the game is just how they're going to draw in new people, because I don't know if they're going to charge for this game, if that's going to really work well to bring people in. But it just depends what they add to the game. I mean, they're definitely listening to the player base. They've, like I said, they made that change with the army cards and how everything was locked. Now it's all unlocked at the start. So they seem to be willing to listen to players and feedback. And when you play the game, they do have you take a survey when you're done. So it seems the devs do care, and they do want to make a great game. These guys are pretty well known too. They've made other similar RTS games. So I think they know what they're doing. It's just trying to get the audience excited about RTS games in general is a little difficult this day and age. Like I said, with MOBA taking over and battle royales, and nobody wants to sit down and play an RTS, I guess. But I mean, Age of Empires 2 is doing amazing with the definitive edition. StarCraft 2 is still alive. Obviously, Command and Conquer is nowhere to be seen. But I think if this game does really well and tries to cater to the players and give them what they want, we're going to see a pretty cool RTS, and it could do a little bit better. Another thing I don't like is the resource system, where, you know, you got your little material factory and your oil factory like right there, and you just send the units down a lane. You're like little gatherers. I don't know. I find that kind of... I wish it was more dynamic a little bit. You know, I just wish it wasn't so static and just pre-placed, you know, like your command center for your HQ goes right in the same spot. You gather from the same spots. That's another thing I kind of find a little silly. But yeah, here's one of those big artilleries that I have with the faction. Pretty cool. But it's a good game. I would recommend, maybe if you got some questions down in the comments, drop them and I'll try to answer them, or any concerns. I mean, if you get a chance, they do giveaways for the game. I've seen that a couple times. I mean, obviously with the Steam policy, you can try it, and then if you don't like it, you know. So I would recommend checking it out, though, if you're looking for an RTS. You know, you're a big RTS fan and there hasn't been anything around lately, and you're just kind of like, man, I miss the good old days of the RTS genre when it was great. This will fill that itch. I had some fun. I got flashbacks of like Command and Conquer Generals playing this, and it was good, man. It was good. I do recommend it, and I hope it gets better, and I'm sure it will. Like I said, it's already improved over the last few months. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any other RTSs you're looking forward to, or you've been playing, or do you just play the classics, you know, the ones that have been around forever that are still going? But thanks for watching the video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or any comments down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Peace, guys.